28-year-old former swimsuit model and ballerina Ashley Benefield ran to her neighbor's house on the evening of September 27, 2020, after she shot and killed her 58-year-old estranged husband, Doug. He was at her house helping to pack for a move from Florida to Maryland. Ashley and Doug were in the middle of a bitter custody battle over their young daughter, a battle filled with allegations of domestic abuse, poisoning, and allegations that Ashley was keeping their young daughter away from Doug. Ashley even told the therapist she would, quote, take matters into her own hands. That was just 13 days before Doug was gunned down. Ashley took the stand in her own defense, telling her story for the first time about what she said happened inside her Florida home the day she killed Doug. And after a dramatic ending, the jury has spoken by delivering a guilty verdict. Now we hear from Doug's family, including his heartbroken oldest daughter, and we look at what happens now that Ashley Benefield is behind bars as a convicted killer. Hi, I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks for joining us. It was just 23 hours ago that we were here on this program in overtime delivering this verdict, and it was around that time that Ashley Benefield walked into a courtroom, a free woman, for the very last time. This is just moments before the jury delivered that verdict. And when she woke up this morning, everyone was talking about her new photo shoot, her latest booking photo, now as a convicted killer. Ashley Benefield behind bars. Let's take a look at that verdict, and let's, as you're listening to the verdict, I always do this. This is what I do when it's verdict time. I'm looking at the defendant, and I think to myself, if they're factually innocent, if they didn't do what they've been accused of doing, and in this case, if she truly was scared and fearful for her own life and was killing Doug in self-defense, what would that reaction be? And what would that reaction be if this is someone who knew the truth, who knew that she killed Doug, and she knew it wasn't in self-defense. It was because she wanted to get rid of him. Think about those two scenarios, because I always do, every case, every trial, as we watch Ashley Benefield listening to the jury deliver their verdict.
The verdict appears to be in proper form. Madam Clerk, would you please publish the verdict?
In the Circuit Court of the 12th Judicial Circuit, NN4, Manatee County, Florida, the State of Florida versus Ashley Benefield, case number 2020 CF 3014. Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter, a lesser included offense. Did Ashley Benefield actually carry a firearm? Yes. Did Ashley Benefield discharge a firearm? Yes. Did Ashley Benefield, as a result of discharging a firearm, cause death to Douglas Benefield? Yes. So say we all this 30th day of July, 2024, at Bradenton, Manatee County, Florida, Cheryl Forterson.
You see the reaction or lack of reaction. I don't know. To me, I just feel like that is so much more consistent with someone who knows. And that's the conclusion that the jury came to here. Not someone who was like, what? I didn't do this. That's not what I'm getting. That's not what I'm getting. And obviously, I am not a professional body language expert. I am just someone who watches trials for decades now. And sometimes I've seen different reactions. It's rare. But for most of the convicted killers, it's very, very similar to what you see here. And I understand the judge tells everyone, you know, you can't do anything, you can't say anything. But, you know, she did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And again, I was saying this last night, I'll say it again tonight. I mean, she is the only one on earth right now alive who was there at the time all this happened. So she knows exactly what the truth is of what took place there. And the jury came to their conclusion beyond any and all reasonable doubt. So afterwards, the family spoke. There's Tommy Benefield. He's going to join us in just a minute. He obviously had a lot to say. Eva, Doug's daughter, also spoke afterwards. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I apologize to all the women who have gone through domestic violence situations. I think that what Ashley was doing was unfair to them. They deserve justice, and I'm very happy that my dad got the justice that he deserves.
And that's nice to hear a feeling from a, and she's the one who's lost the most, right? She lost her father. Her mother's gone. She has no parents left. And she's at a relatively young age for all of that to happen. But she's getting a sense of justice here. Here's Dave Benefield, one of Doug's brothers.
I got to spend 3 days with Doug before he was shot and killed. And it was about 5 weeks before that happened. And what he was so excited about was the fact that he loved his wife, he loved his girls, and he wanted to be here for them. And he would want healing for everyone because he was a firm believer in Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior, as am I, and there is forgiveness for sin. And I am so thankful for justice. The entire process was simply amazing. But Doug, his heart would be, I want to see my family healed. I want to see my family whole. That's exactly what he was telling me, and we were laughing about the hope for the future. And I'm sorry he's not here to see what's going to happen. I still believe for good. So thank you, Tom.
That's Dave Benefield. So it's nice afterwards, because this was not a murder conviction. This wasn't the top count. This was a lesser included count. So, you know, was justice served in this case? Let's bring in our guests joining us tonight. We've got with us cousin of Doug Benefield, family spokesperson Tommy Benefield is with us. Also, Stephanie Murphy, the attorney for Doug Benefield, represented him in all those family law cases. Also, both of whom with us tonight were also witnesses in the case as well. Thank you both for being here. Wow, what a night last night. Tommy, I just want to begin with your thoughts, your reaction. Go back to the moment. You're in the courtroom and you hear what the jury had to say.
Well, Vinnie, thanks again for having us on tonight. You're always concerned anytime you're that close to a case to hear the verdict read out loud in anticipation of what we believe that we had certainly cleared the bar for the manslaughter in the first degree with a firearm. But you always have in the back of your mind and your gut worry about something went wrong and that didn't clearly get to the jury. We're very, very thankful it did. We're very happy with the manslaughter guilty verdict.
And all of this was delivered after 20 minutes, about 20 minutes before they come to a verdict. They say that they can't reach a unanimous verdict. So they went back in there and did some work, maybe a compromise, I don't know. Stephanie, from your perspective, right? You were with him every step of the way through family court, and you were with him every step of the way through this criminal trial as well. What were your thoughts as that verdict was read?
My biggest thought, Vinny, was just absolute relief that the truth came to light, that the jurors were able to hear the truth of all the witnesses who spoke about Doug and Ashley, and that justice was finally served. It was concerning. I mean, the jury was out for a really long time, and so to hear the guilty verdict was just the biggest relief that I can remember experiencing my entire career.
Tommy, any comments about Ashley in the moment and Ashley afterwards? I mean, I watched her, and she walked very quickly into the courtroom. She walked very quickly out of the courtroom. I didn't see tears, but I didn't see tears when she was testifying either. But what are your thoughts about Ashley's reaction in the moment and the moments afterwards?
I think your opening tonight said it best, because we could see it and then we got to replay it later. Absolutely no emotion whatsoever. in the reading of the verdict, her being found guilty, her facing somewhere 15 to 30 years maximum in this sentence, and absolutely a stoic, no emotion person. We believe, like you do, that an innocent person who really would have shot someone and killed someone in self-defense, they would have told their mother, they would have told the police, they would have told their counselor, and she clearly was stoic about it. One of the best sounds after hearing the guilty verdict for us was hearing the handcuffs placed on her and then having her walk past the family as she went back to spend the first night in jail in a very, very long time.
Stephanie, I always say this, that the most dangerous place in any courthouse is not the criminal courtroom, but the family courtroom, because emotions run so high. Those cases are bitter. It cuts to the core of every human emotion. You're in the middle of tearing people apart. It's work I know I could never do, but you do it every day. As you look at what happened and transpired through all of this, were there any point during all this litigation, was there any point did you think things could get dangerous?
Absolutely, Vinnie, and I think I've said this to you before. One of the last things I said to Doug was, be careful. Dangerous people do dangerous things. It didn't occur to me at the time that I was actually predicting that she was going to murder him, but I knew that something bad was going to happen, and it was going to be coming from Ashley, who was up against a wall, and she was dangerous, and something dangerous was going to happen, and I was devastated when I found out the extent that she would go.
Tommy, as we sit here tonight, has that question been answered for you about why this happened? Like why?
Yes, sir, there's no doubt.
I mean, to me, it's on so many different levels. Like, but for you, as you walk away, having gone through all of this, do you have an answer in your mind?
Well, the sad part is that we contended all along that all she had to do was act like a normal, reasonable person. And if she didn't want to be with Doug, really tell him that, really separate, get the divorce, do the time sharing with a loving father of their child. But she had decided early on that she did not want Doug in her daughter's life or her life. And she believed that he was wealthy. He had spent all his money to get to this point in his life. He supported the ballet. He sold stock grants for his patents in the future. Even the week before they're going to move, Doug sold stock grants to have the money to be able to move Ashley, Alicia, Emerson, and himself to Maryland. We just believe that she had decided that she wasn't going to come back to court on the 30th, that she couldn't wait, that she would set this up. We absolutely believe that she sent Alicia, her mother, and Emerson out to the park, even though it's not on their phones. They knew enough not to put it on their phones, and she got them out of the house. She had many options of what she could do if she was really fearful. She could have just turned left instead of going in that bedroom, and she waited for him there, and when he came in, she shot him and she killed him.
All right, Tommy and Stephanie are going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's in store for Ashley Benefield at sentencing. There is a real range here. What is going to happen? What does the rest of her life look like?
We're very thankful that she was taken off to jail. She's only spent 17 days in jail of the 1,405 days since she at least manslaughtered with a firearm Doug Benefield. We're thankful that the lesser charge was allowed. We knew we could achieve that. We're very, very thankful for the prosecutors and the great work they did. I truly believe Eva sealed it today when we proved that Doug Benefield was not in the condition or the person they tried to make him out to be, and we sealed that this morning. We're very, very thankful for the court staff. Everyone has supported our family. Victims Advocate is great in this county. We're very, very thankful for everything that's happened, especially getting to see her finally go to jail for what she did in killing Doug Benefield.
Ashley Benefield back behind bars, and this time for a long time, up to 30 years. Judge has some discretion in this, so a lot of it may depend upon what the judge hears at the sentencing hearing, right? And part of that is victim impact statements, victims' family, what they would like to see happen here. All of that comes into play. Still with us, the man you were just listening to, Tommy Benefield, Doug's cousin, and Stephanie Murphy, who represented Doug during his family court battle with Ashley. So Tommy, let me start with you. You said finally off to jail, only 17 days. She faces up to 30 years. Doug's brother was talking about a level of forgiveness and healing. So from your perspective, what do you think would be fair, and is the family going to give any input to the state?
We're certainly going to be a part of the sentencing investigation, the pre-sentencing investigation. They call it a PSI. We're going to be a part of that. We believe at this point that although we weren't able to have the jury go unanimously, we believe the long time they spent was trying to get to a unanimous verdict on the second-degree murder, but they quickly came after the session that they took in telling the judge they could come to a verdict. We believe the shift because of the firearm from 15 maximum years to 30 maximum years, that we're going to be able to get in the 25 to 30 range. We're seeking 30. So are the prosecutors, based on our meeting with them last night.
Okay. And who, do we know who was going to speak victim impact-wise? Do we know if the judge is going to allow more than one? Will you be able to speak? Will Eva be able to speak, et cetera, Tommy?
We don't quite know yet, but the prosecutors are open to both Eva and I speaking directly as victims advocate.
Stephanie, what are your thoughts about how you expect this sentencing to go and what the issues will be for this judge?
Well, given how Judge White has conducted himself throughout this entire case, I believe that it's going to be an orderly process, that he is going to have high expectations of all the participants, from the attorneys to the people who are giving witness statements. So I expect that we are going to get a succinct ruling from him, and it will be thorough and well thought out. I think Judge White has an excellent grasp on the history and the facts of this case, and that he is going to make the correct decision based on the totality of the information that's presented to him, consistent with what he has done already in this case.
And Stephanie, what happens now to Emerson, Doug's daughter?
Well, Vinnie, my understanding at this point is that status quo will remain. Emerson is legally in the custody of her grandmother, Alicia, and unless and until there's a change, that's going to be the status quo. However, that's not necessarily a permanent situation, and I would hope that there's going to be a lot of attention given to Alicia's conduct during these last several years, and most especially in the last several weeks leading up to the trial, that Emerson's guardian would have made a choice of putting that little girl on the street holding a sign about her mother going to jail, which indicates that she has a tremendous amount of knowledge about her father's murder, about her mother killing him, that is inappropriate for any child, much less a child this young.
Tommy, how about Eva? Does she know her sister at all?
She's met her once or twice, as I remember, when Doug made the trips down and Eva came down to Florida. They spent very little time together. We've never had access to the child. That certainly hasn't been a part of what the Department of Children and Families have offered, although we've sought it out. But we believe there'll be a change in that as Ashley goes from jail to prison. We're sad that we don't know her. We're sad that she doesn't know us. And in particular, we're sad that we don't know what her memories of her father will be, because she was basically 2.5 when he was killed by Ashley. So we'll have to wait and see how she is if we get the chance to be with her, but we want that.
Stephanie, do siblings have any rights in Florida in having contact with their a sister with her sister? I've never seen a situation quite like this, but are there any sort of rights that a sister would have?
In the family court, she actually doesn't have any rights to have visitation or time sharing with her sister. However, we're hopeful that in the dependency court, we will be able to get to the point where she can have visitation with her sister. I think Emerson needs to know who her family is. And I think that her mother and her grandmother have been on an affirmative track to keep her from knowing anything good about her daddy or her sister or her family. And so it's incumbent on all of us to try to make a correction of that tragedy that we're currently dealing with.
All right, well, I want to thank you both for joining us tonight. Tommy, this gives you some time now. I'm going to give you some advice. You need some time to exhale and kind of, relax just a little bit. This was some journey for all of you. Stephanie, a great advocate. Thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to talk about why the jury did not believe Ashley Benefield's testimony.
Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter, a lesser included offense.
No reaction, stone-faced. The so-called Black Swan, Ashley Benefield, found guilty of first-degree manslaughter with a weapon. So that means she's facing 15 to 30 years behind bars in prison. Her defense was that, she was defending herself, but the jury didn't believe it, and they took her out in cuffs. That's the end of the road for Ashley Benefield. Yeah, there'll be appeals. I get it. That always happens. We'll see. It's always a long shot for defendants. But the bottom line here is that this jury did not believe her. She told her story, and it wasn't like she was inconsistent with the other stories she told because she never told the story before. This is the first time for everybody to hear inside the courtroom. Let's take a listen to some of her direct examination.
And he started screaming at me. He said, "Shut the up." He started calling me names. And he said, "I can see what you're doing. You're trying to get me to leave." He said, "I don't have to leave. I can stay and spend the night if I want to because I'm your husband."
At that point, Ashley, how did you feel with respect to your own personal safety?
I was scared.
Did you take any steps to try to avoid anything further?
Yes, I ran to try to leave the house.
And where did you run to?
To the front door.
Did you make it?
No.
Tell us what happened.
He stopped me. He grabbed me by the hand and he yanked me back. I'm not really sure how he did it, but he spun around so he was in front of me, between me and the door.
So
He said,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
he said, "Where the f*** do you think you're going?"
What was your response? Do you specifically recall? Tell us.
I just blurted it out. I said, "I'm done and you need to leave now."
What was Doug's reaction to that command to leave now?
He said, "You can't leave me."
Then what happens?
He hit me on the side of the head.
Did you grab the gun?
Yes.
As you're grabbing the gun, what, if anything, did you hear?
I heard the door hitting the doorstop.
As if it is flung open?
Yes.
And what do you see, Ashley, when you look up?
Doug was standing in the doorway. His face was red. The veins were bulging in his neck. The way he was looking at me, it didn't even look like Doug. His eyes were black.
Does he yell anything at you?
He said, "You're done."
And what does he do at that point?
I held the gun like in front of me, and I said, "Stop." And he like turned and he got into this like a fighting stance. I got low, and he started like moving his arms and his hands around. And he was making these like jerking motions.
What were you expecting when you were holding the gun out in front of you and you told him to stop?
I thought when he saw it, he would leave.
Did he?
No.
At that point, Ashley, what are you thinking?
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Tell us what happens next.
He started coming towards me, and then he lunged at me, and I started pulling the trigger. And he just kept coming, and I remember trying to move to get away from him, but he kept coming at me.
There are only two people in the room, one's dead, so this is the only play-by-play this jury got. But they didn't believe her. Why didn't they believe her? Let me bring in my experts. Joining us tonight in Florida, the state attorney for Palm Beach County, Dave Arenberg, is with us. Also joining us, clinical and forensic neuropsychologist, associate professor at Pepperdine University, and author of the book, The New Rules of Attachment, Dr. Judy Ho. Dave, I'll begin with you tonight because, you know, if you've got a self-defense defense, and there's only two people, there's no witnesses, there's no video, there's nothing else, the jury only really gets to hear one story. And they didn't believe her. Why is that? Why don't you think they believed her?
You know, it's tough to know the reason, Vinnie. I thought the most compelling part of her story is when she claimed that the victim, Doug Benefield, beat up her dog, knocked her dog out. And as a dog lover, that was enough. For me, I was like, wow, I don't like this guy. But on the other hand, she did look like she was spouting some Kyle Rittenhouse fake tears, you know, the crying without the waterworks. And her story really doesn't make a lot of sense, that she was so scared of this guy, but yet she invited him over to help her move. And even though her stuff is pretty much all packed up, there was still a gun in the other room just conveniently available for her to start shooting him. And then she shot him in the back, according to the medical examiner. And the whole story about the fact that she was hit in the face by him was debunked by law enforcement. So there are a lot of reasons why not just the jury, but also the judge in the previous Stand Your Ground hearing did not buy her story. And so I think they got it right. There's something about her that just seems very disingenuous, like she can pull one over on us. Perhaps she did that to Doug during their marriage. I didn't trust her either.
You know, that last thing, Dr. Judy Ho, that Dave just said, there's something about her, right? I get that same feeling. I can't necessarily put my finger on what it is, but there's something about it that just doesn't strike me as wanting to believe her. And obviously the jury didn't believe her. What are your thoughts here, Dr. Judy?
Well, I think, Vinnie, both you and Dave are onto something. And it's just that feeling. It's a feeling. It's an intuition that we can't always express directly with words, but the feeling comes from still a place of knowledge. Because when we talk about intuition, it's that part of your brain that isn't really the verbal part of your brain, doesn't really understand language. It's kind of like the base part of your brain, the more primordial part of your brain that just says, you know, I have a feeling about this person. And I will point out two observations. One is when somebody seems to be continuously crying, one interpretation is, wow, they're really distressed. But the second interpretation is, well, is there ever going to be a stop to the tears, whether they're real or they're fake? Can you control your emotions but at all? It actually makes the person sometimes seem more unstable and at times be observed to be disingenuous rather than this is a person in great distress, especially because there's been some distance from this event now. This is not something that just happened yesterday. I think the second piece that's really important is when somebody is attractive, they tend to get a lighter sentence in court, but if they're thought to manipulate their attractiveness, then the jury tends to levy a heavier sentence on them. Like, hey, you know you're pretty and you're doing something to manipulate other people because of your beauty, and that just sets people off. So I think those two things might apply here.
I want to take a look at some of the cross-examination because I thought this part was very significant as well. And obviously that's the test for any witness, not just a defendant, but any witness is what happens on cross. Let's watch.
At the end, you say he slapped you?
He hit me. I wouldn't know how to classify it. He struck me, he hit me.
Was his hand open or closed?
I don't remember.
Okay. And because of those things, you claim that you thought he was going to kill you.
He had never hit me before.
Okay. And you thought he was going to kill you.
He wouldn't let me leave. I tried to leave, he stopped me.
The question is, you thought he was going to kill you.
Yeah. Oh. He came and slammed the door open. He was standing in the doorway. He said, "You're done."
He said, "You're done." And that made you fear for your life.
Yeah.
Can we turn the lights up, please? Thank you. So he says you're done, and you point the gun and you shoot.
I held it out in front of me first so he could see it. And I said, "Stop."
Judge, if I could have her step down so she can demonstrate.
I'm standing in the doorway. Kind of like this. And he said, "You're done." And I held the gun out in front of me and I said, "Stop." He got into this like fighting spot. He literally turned sideways. And he was like moving around with his like arms in his hands. And he started like inching forward towards me.
So why do you call it a fighting stance?
Well, he looks like a fighter. Like I don't know, like a ninja or something, I don't know.
Okay, so he's standing there. He turns to like this and starts moving his arms around.
Like that.
Well, show me. What was he doing?
Kind of like, I don't know, he got like this, and he was like making like fighting motions. I don't know, I'm not a fighter, I don't know.
Okay.
It was scary.
Did he have his hands in fists?
Not at that point, they were like, I don't know.
Was he coming at you like this?
When he lunged at me, he came very quickly.
Okay, so he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
I don't remember.
So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back?
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Do they go over his head?
I don't know, it's like his feet slipped out.
Okay.
And his feet and his legs went up in the air.
And were you still shooting at the time?
I don't remember.
Dr. Judy Ho, I want to ask you, this reminded me a little bit of Jodi Arias when she got up to describe the lunge years ago in Arizona. Is it unfair to judge someone who's asked to stand up in sort of an awkward kind of position and kind of judge them based on being played? Because it seems like it's a difficult place for her to stand and answer questions. She looks so uncomfortable.
Right. She does look really awkward, but this is a man's life that we're talking about. And so opposing counsel is, they have the right to ask these difficult questions, these challenging questions. And so interesting, Vinnie, we're so on the same page. I was just thinking about Jodi Arias as I was watching that. And I think this is another clue to why maybe ultimately the jury did not rule for her, because anytime she's confronted with a question that's more direct, and of course, these are difficult things to talk about when somebody has been through any form of potential trauma, but it's like immediately she goes into this high-pitched voice crying, "I don't remember." part of the work, I think, of her counsel is to prepare her for this testimony, right? And of course, you don't know what that's going to be like on the day of, but you have to be able to answer the questions so that people can hear your answer. You can't really even understand what she's saying half the time. And that's hard. I think that it was hard for the jury to watch and to really make sense of it.
Dave, this happened in your state of Florida, and we've seen on court TV and in other cases, Florida is pretty receptive to self-defense. The jury's down here. Were you surprised by this result?
Not really, because of the reasons that Dr. Judy explained. I mean, she didn't come across really well. These, what looked like fake tears. I mean, I didn't see any waterworks. This was Kyle Rittenhouse with the crying, and she didn't speak and answer questions. She had this high-pitched wail the entire time, seemingly she was on the stand. And I think people just thought it was an act. I mean, that was her self-defense mechanism. And I know you're comparing her to Jodi Arias. I compare her to Amber Heard, attractive party in the case against Johnny Depp, who people hated. And they just felt a vibe from her they didn't like. And, you know, on my true crime channel, that's what all these people are writing in. They're saying, she's Amber Heard, but that's the vibe I'm getting to. And so I'm not surprised, Vinnie, how this turned out. I think also they didn't like the victim in this case, what they heard about Doug Benefield, which is why I think they said, let's have a compromise, not murder, but manslaughter.
Dave Arenberg, Dr. Judy Ho, thank you both so much. Appreciate your time. When we come back, what will life be like in prison for this former ballerina? That's next.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV. Sunday, August 11th, the season finale of Accomplice to Murder.
The horrors they uncovered are horrors not even inflicted upon prisoners of war.
Accomplice to Murder with Vinnie Politan. Season finale, Sunday, August 11th, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Domestic violence is absolutely a real problem. Women and sometimes men that are in situations where they're being abused and beaten horribly on a regular basis. That is not this defendant.
He said, where the do you think you're going? I just blurted it out and I said, I'm done and you need to leave now. He said, you can't leave me. He hit me on the side of the head.
Crying. Started crying. Did you ever see one tear? Did you ever see one drop of liquid? One red eye? One swollen eye?
The defendant is guilty of manslaughter, a lesser included offense.
Ashley Benefield found guilty of manslaughter. She was quickly whisked away in cuffs inside the courtroom. You saw it last night, about 24 hours ago, right here on Closing Arguments. So the question is, what is life going to be like for this former ballerina and swimsuit model facing 15 to 30 years in prison? Let's bring in our experts. Joining us, prison consultant. He's founded two agencies, Wall Street Prison Consulting and Pink Lady Consulting. Larry Levine is with us. Also joining us, licensed mental health and nationally certified clinician specializing in trauma and neglect, Sharonda Brown. All right, Larry, what are your thoughts about this former ballerina? What's it going to be like for her inside the prison?
Well, you know, my first initial view of her, she didn't seem like she was really scared that her husband or her dead husband scared her. It seemed like she was more scared of going to prison. And the first thing that they're going to do with her is they're going to send her to a classification center in Ocala, Florida. It's called Lowell Correctional. It's the largest women's facility in Florida. And when she touches down at Lowell, first thing, medical and psychological evaluation. They're going to see if she's cuckoo or not. Then they're going to do a risk assessment. They're going to look at her prior criminal history, her education, and such. And then they're going to do a classification as far as what kind of prison that she's going to go to. It could be a minimum, a medium, a close, a maximum. Then they're going to figure out, well, really, what programs does she need to take? Now, with the amount of time that she got, I mean, this woman, Ashley's not going to go to what we would call a club fed or a country club prison. She killed somebody. She's got a substantial sentence. She's a flight risk. She may be a threat to the community. So she may be living in a dormitory or she may be living in a cell, depending on where she goes. And the other inmates, some of them will revere her because, you know, a lot of women's fantasy is killing their husband. So they're going to applaud her. Some of the other inmates there may think that she's a terrible person. So it's kind of going to be mixed, and some people will cozy up to her because she's famous. Other people will avoid her. But her daily routine, it's highly structured. They wake these women up at like 5:30 a.m. and they got to go use the bathroom, and they take care of their hygiene needs. They make their bed, and then about 5:30, it's roll call time. They're going to check to make sure everybody's there. Now, she's going to be behind the fence, so in all likelihood, they're not going to be missing anybody. Then at 6 a.m., they're going to march them over to the dining hall. It's time for breakfast. So you can see this is structured. 6:30 a.m. is work call assignment.
And you know, it's interesting,
in the
Larry,
dining hall.
I just want to jump in. The structure, right, is maybe there's some discipline, the discipline that a ballerina needs to perform. Sharonda, what are your thoughts about how she'll be able to adapt to this new life for the next few decades?
She'll definitely have some separation anxiety. She will get acclimated to the culture, of course. She'll have some culture shock. She's going to miss what used to be. So she's going to go through some trauma and some serious grief, but she will adjust as with anyone in a new culture, and she will get acclimated. And just like my colleague said, some people will like her, some people will feel indifferent about her, and others will not like her. So she's going to figure out what group she best fits in so that she can survive and figure out how to manage the time that she will have while she's behind bars. So that's going to be the most important transition, is which group will help her survive, because survival is going to be most important for her.
We only have about 30 seconds left here, Larry. Does her beauty have any impact on the way that she's treated and what her life is going to be like?
Well, you know, a lot of the staff might try to hit on her and get with her. In these prisons, there's a lot of lesbians and bisexuality. I mean, look at Jodi Arias. She's got a girlfriend, so it's highly probable Ashley may have a girlfriend too. So yeah, her looks will play a large role in this.
And Sharonda, we have about 15 seconds left here. I'll let you tie a bow on all of this. Do you think she'll survive?
I think she'll survive. I think that the most important piece is that she's going to meet people who are more manipulative than she is, and they will see right through it. And she will have to adjust. She will have to become more transparent and more authentic. So she may find herself doing some changing while she's in there, and recognizing that, you know, people are not easily swayed by tears that aren't there, and people are going to see through you, because people out there really do commit crimes and they're honest about them. So I think she'll adjust and she will survive, and most importantly, she will change.
Great insight tonight. Larry, great to see you. Sharonda, thank you as well. Before we go, folks, please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Braden Lee Joseph St. Peter, missing since July 25th out of Spokane, Washington. Only 14 years old. 14 years old. Now, Braden does have a tattoo on his right forearm, so keep an eye open for that. If you see Braden, make the call. Pick up the phone, 911-1-800-THE-LOST, or you call the Spokane Police Department in Washington State. The phone number is on the screen. Let's see if we can get Braden to a safe place tonight. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.